Hey there guys, it's Tom from Dolphin Dive Productions. Really sorry that it's been taking this long to do my E3 top 10. Stuff has got in the way, however we're now back on it with number 8. And it may surprise some of you, but Titanfall 2 made my list. The first one was an Xbox One exclusive. It was a blend of fast-paced, first-person shooting action with a well-implemented free-running and boosting across large open-ended maps, and it climaxed with like these huge titans being called in and annihilating everything on the battlefield and capable of changing the game just like that. There were some issues with it, however. Despite all the large-scale battles, multiplayer action games consisted mostly of 6v6. The space being taken up with like cannon fodder, minion-esque AI soldiers who seemed incapable of even engaging one another. To me, this led to a detachment from player to scenario and ended up being kind of pointless addition, as the players ended up sort of like hunting one another, as that's where you get the most points and the most benefits. Support for Titanfall gradually fizzled out as other games were released, so when Titanfall 2 was announced, needless to say I was very sceptical. The first thing they announced, however, that it was going to be on all platforms. This was quite interesting to me because like I say, I'm a PlayStation 4 player. I never got to play the first one, and it's always seemed odd to me how games developers and companies can limit only one game to one console, because regardless of your market share, you're only going to have around about 50%. So you're stopping a lot of potential gamers moving to your console because you've only restricted it to yours. I can see why, like when the first consoles first came out, having exclusives was good in the short term, but in the long term it really can only harm a games developer and a company. So when they came out and said it's going to be across all platforms, I was actually quite surprised. Happily so, because I've always wanted to play it. It always looked good fun. You know, I always thought I was annoyed and angry that it was only to an Xbox One player that got to play this, but now it's on all platforms, I may well consider getting it. Especially since the other thing they announced was the mechs themselves, the Titans, the main focus of this game. First one, they all looked very similar in size, shape, and their role on the battlefield was just to annihilate everything. It was sort of like master of all trades. You could do everything with it. You can take on foot infantry and other Titans and not really have an issue. Whereas in this one, it looks to have a lot more unique options available for your Titans, so you can make it more personalised. How do you want to fight? Do you want to focus on crowd control? Do you want to focus on taking out other Titans? Smaller ones, larger ones? You know, more weak points, less weak points the smaller they are, the more armour, the less weapons, that sort of thing. So the way they do the customization, the way they implement it, could really turn the tide of a battle and also turn the tide of opinion on your game, because I know a lot of people are slightly disappointed with the lack of customization available for your mechs. Not just the weapons, but the colours, the sprays and all that other sort of stuff we've come to expect with new games, and new games like Titanfall with multiplayer, Overwatch and so on and so forth. Titanfall 1 wasn't exactly renowned for its single player campaign, i.e. there really wasn't one. It was just 5 to 6, I say I watched Andrew Joe play it, sort of like 5 to 6 multiplayer maps revolving around TDM and objective based games. It wasn't well thought out at all. It seemed a little bit tacked on. It seemed to focus mostly on the multiplayer maps and the multiplayer game modes, which is fine if that's what you say you're going to focus on from the start. Don't say you're going to have a single player campaign and just have a multiplayer element to it. That said, don't lose the co-op element. The side-by-side split screen and the online co-op was always good fun, and there seems to be a trend of games not doing this anymore, so I really hope Titanfall 2 keeps that in. However, it needs to have a well thought out implemented campaign, and it does look like they've done that from the gameplay trailer, from the single player trailer, and from the trailer for the actual game itself. It seems to be a big focal point for the developers to get this right. Hopefully they do. However, again, why does this make my list? Why does a PlayStation player want Titanfall 2 to be recognised as a good game from E3? Mostly because A, it looks to be building on its foundations, which are very good. The smoothness of combat seems to have evolved a lot from the first one. The smoothness of the boost jumping, the free running, the parkour aspect of it seems to be well thought out and improved from the previous title. And also, it's always nice to see a games developer break the shackles of exclusivity. And I think this is going to be the first. I think this is the first major games company, or the first major game that's been able to do that. Whether or not Microsoft has said, "Look, we need to open you up a little bit more to get more people playing it. Or the developer said, look, you cut out half our market share, we didn't really sell that well, we want to open up to more people. Regardless of the reasons, I hope it's a small way starts a trend of other developers. I mean, I'd love for Xbox players to play The Last of Us and Uncharted and Little Big Planet. I think those are the 3 best exclusives that Sony have got at the moment, and Until Dawn, there's another good one released recently. They need to stop doing exclusive games now. It's gone, it's past, it's just annoying for people now. So, you know, the consoles are quite expensive, so regardless if you've got an Xbox One, you really want to play a PlayStation 4 game, you're not, unless you've got the money, you're not going to look to buy a PlayStation 4 just to play one game. This needs to stop, and I'm glad Titanfall 2, in some small way, has started to do that. Plus, I get to play in a fuck off Big Titan, so yes please.